Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Anthony Kraus, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Xtract One Technologies, Inc. Please note, you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Peter Evans, Chief Executive Officer of Xtract One Technologies, Inc., which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol XTRAF and on the TSX under the symbol XTRA. Welcome back, Peter.
Well, thank you, Anthony, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today for this presentation. I really appreciate the OTC inviting us. I'd like to start with a rhetorical question. For those who are unfamiliar with Xtract One, let's ask the question this way. How many people are comfortable with the growing and threatening issue that we have in North America and indeed around the world with the proliferation of weapons and the shooting events that happen every single day? I don't think anyone is comfortable with that, but heretofore, we all also have had a problem that we're addressing a modern day problem with old technology, walk-through metal detectors, security staff, and others, which is an approach that's founded 50, 60, 70 years ago, but does not scale to address today's modern day problems. At Xtract One, we're addressing this with digitally transforming the whole physical security industry and making sure that we are actually delivering outcomes and values to our customers in a very meaningful way. In the presentation, as usual, we have our standard disclaimer about this presentation material, and I invite anyone who is listening to this conversation and this presentation to go to our website. You can download this presentation, and also please recognize the disclaimer information. Fundamentally, what we are doing at Xtract One is we're digitally disrupting a physical security marketplace, an industry that has used old technology like the walk-through metal detector, who was first invented by Alexander Graham Bell in 1881. So we're using technology that's over 140 years old to solve a modern day problem that is getting worse and worse every day. As each of us knows, that we're sitting in a world where post-COVID, we're seeing a massive amount of weapons proliferate. We're seeing enormous amounts of societal unrest. We're seeing a decline in the labor force of those who want to actually be in the security industry because of the situation that we have with societal unrest. We also have a very interesting environment here where we're seeing more and more the rise of pragmatic AI. It touches us in everything we do these days. AI has the promise of delivering outcomes in a different way at massive scalability, cost effectively, and actually delivering preemptive and proactive information to stop security incidents as opposed to reacting to those situations. AI, though, has to be purpose-built to solve a problem, and that's what we have done at Xtract One. To give it a little context to the outcomes, something that every one of us has experienced in our day-to-day life. Every one of us has gone to a sporting event, a theater event. You've gone through airports and places where it's mandatory to screen for weapons. And we're seeing more and more of these environments growing every day. But for the average situation, we've gone to a large sporting event or a large concert where you spent $2,000 to see your favorite performer in concert. There's a guest experience that doesn't live up to the brand of what you're expecting. Long lines, standing for hours potentially to get through old antiquated walk-through metal detectors. This is the kind of the issue we have with these old obsolete technologies. They're slow, they're invasive, and they're problematic. And they in fact create a security risk. This crowd shown on the left here is in fact a soft target that could be taken advantage of, and in fact was taken advantage of in things like the Ariana Grande bombing by someone with malicious intent in Manchester, England. On the right here, we show an example of the experience that people have when they happen to walk through a Xtract One gateway solution. It's fast, it's frictionless, and people simply walk right in. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit of details. About 4 years ago, post-COVID, when I joined the company, we spent our time focusing on what was the marketplace that we felt we had the best fit. The path to success for our company has been hyper-focused on getting into the arenas and stadiums, which were already doing screening of the individuals, where they already had security staff, where they already had security budgets, and be able to deliver a value proposition where we could get people in faster, in a less expensive manner, and created an outstanding outcome for those fans, getting a great guest experience of simply walking right in. This initial target market was about a $4 billion marketplace that we were playing into. However, the other vertical markets were not willing to wait for us. We found ourselves pulled into manufacturing and distribution, into hospitals, into school environments where they too were having weapons issues. One of our customers, a very large auto manufacturer, called us on Good Friday one year, and they said they just had a gun incident in their manufacturing plant, and that was the third one in a 12-month period. The challenge of these weapons issues is not going away, it's only getting worse. So as we were drawn into these marketplaces, we now entered into a $40 billion marketplace where we're serving that marketplace with key anchor tenants in every single one of those verticals. As the weapons issues grow internationally in places like Europe, we're finding ourselves now getting pulled into the international markets, and we play in a $140 billion marketplace with our solution. Let's talk a little bit about those solutions that actually deliver the outcome that the customers are looking for. Our first product we brought to market in a meaningful way was the Smart Gateway. This was designed purposely for that first target marketplace for the arenas and stadiums. We weren't the first to the market, but we had the opportunity to go to the market and ask them, what do you like and what don't you like about other solutions? And what do you need in order to have the best outcomes for not only your arena, but your patrons? So we oftentimes will talk about the Smart Gateway as being designed by customers for customers. So the Smart Gateway is a product that we've been delivering into the marketplace for the last 3 years, and we're happy to have a large number of organizations who have been deploying it and deploying more as they move out from one factory to the next, or one school district to the next, Most recently, though, we introduced a product called the One Gateway. This was done at the TSX show in Orlando about a month or so ago. All of the technologies that are delivering weapons detection solutions suffer from the same issue of the laws of physics. And that is that when you have too much metallic clutter on an individual walking into a venue, for example, a child walking to school who has a laptop, laptops will alert. Too much metallic clutter. If someone has 3 phones, cell phones, watch, wallets, keys, tablets, laptops, these sorts of things will alert. And so the challenge is that some of the fastest growing marketplaces are places like commercial properties and schools and convention centers, where 80 to 90% of the individuals walking in the door are walking in with a laptop. I was standing with a superintendent of a very, very large school district who looked at me and said, if you can solve the laptop problem, not only will we be deploying for every one of our schools, but I personally am going to be buying shares in your company because you've delivered leapfrog technology. The One Gateway has done that and fulfilled that promise and responded to our customers like that superintendent. A child can now walk into school in the same way that they did 5 or 10 years ago before the fears of weapons issues in schools, with their backpack, with their laptop, and simply walk right in. And it won't alert. But if the child does have a gun or does have a knife or any other prohibited items like that, that system will actually alert on that and indicate specifically gun, specifically knife, and where that is on that individual. The happy accident that we've delivered to the marketplace is, as my daughter would call it, a happy accident, is the fact that the innovation that we've put into the One Gateway is such that we can also identify objects. So not only will a person walk through and alert, but it would alert they have a gun and they have a knife. Or for large distribution centers who are worried about employee theft and are losing millions and millions of dollars to employee theft, we can alert on weapons on the way in and alert on earbuds, smartphones, smartwatches, Apple tablets, things like this on the way out. This opens up a whole new set of market segments for us, as we saw in the prior charts. So we've done very well growing our business in our first initial segments. We're now a dominant player with a specific differentiated value for each of those vertical marketplaces that will make us the default choice. Let's go back to a little bit to the ROI, just so people understand it. The traditional approach using a walk-through metal detector, take your typical NHL or NBA arena. The average walk-through metal detector requires people to divest of all their personal items, cell phone, watch, wallet, keys, belt buckles, you name it. They take about 10 seconds per person or 6 people per minute to go through one of these walk-through metal detectors. With a Smart Gateway, people simply walk right in and they enjoy the event and they enjoy the show. As a case study example, one of our customers, a very large arena, was working with about 42 walk-through metal detectors and 85 security staff per event And that ran up for about 4 hours for every event, with about 250 events per year, or about $2 million of salaries paid for security staff. Using our smart gateway, they've deployed about 9 systems. All the fans are in twice as fast as they were previously, but they've lowered the number of security guards to approximately 25. So from 85 to 25 means that $2 million of spending has now dropped about $600,000 or so. They will pay us, but the customer is now putting more than $1 million of EBITDA to the bottom line from their previous OPEX budget. Interesting enough, the fans too, while they're inside, are buying more beer, more baseball hats, more pretzels, more hot dogs. So the overall value proposition for any of these venues is very compelling. Significantly more revenue, in the order of $5 more per person, lowering your overall OPEX costs and putting more money to the bottom line. But most importantly, happy fans who are in fast, and most people just walk right in, not even know they're being screened. It's an excellent outcome for everyone involved in the equation. As such, we're very happy that we've been able to win the business for many iconic venues, places like Madison Square Garden, the Sphere in Las Vegas, the Chicago Theater in Chicago, multiple arenas, stadiums, NBA teams, NHL teams, and in these expansion markets in the segments, we own now the business for 4 of the top 10 auto manufacturers. And I think those, if I know correctly, are the only ones who made a decision on a technology so far. We own very large healthcare organizations like Community Health in Indianapolis, Centera Health out of Virginia, the Veterans Admin Hospital, and many other locations. These are all happy customers who continue to be strong advocates for our technology and are expanding their business with us, as well as driving us into new organizations that they are associated with to help us expand our business. I personally am very proud of the fact that these are not customers, they're advocates because of the outcomes that they've received so far. So how are we doing? On Friday of last week, we announced our earnings for our prior fiscal year, which ended at the end of July. And we've got validation in the real world. We grew all of our metrics significantly that we'd set out to achieve in fiscal 2024. We grew revenues by about 400%, while improving our gross profitability by about 2 to 3 points from the low 60% to mid 60%, all while keeping our OPEX generally flat, growing by about single digits every year. So we've built a very, very scalable model that is delivering on all the financial fundamentals for the company. Our business backlog, which I think is the most important number to measure the success of our business and the future, our contractual backlog of signed agreements that are pending installation, or recurring revenue customers who are paying on a monthly basis over a 3-year contract, so we have not yet recognized those revenues, is north of $26 million. That was as of the end of July. We've continued to add to that through the rest of this year and into our fiscal 2025. So fiscal 2025 is looking like it's going to be yet another great growth year for the company. If we look a little bit more forward, there's always a question about, well, how do you know it works? And unfortunately, the physical security industry is characterized by some aggressive marketing, whether it's camera manufacturers or access control customers or vendors, and that's an unfortunate thing. So we decided to take a counterintuitive approach and get our technology tested and verified by some of the most stringent security organizations in the world. Organizations like the U.S. Federal Marshals, who specialize in perimeter security, and testing us against the Department of Justice's standards for these kinds of technologies. Organizations like NCS4, which is an objective organization that works closely with all the major sports stadiums, arenas, and professional sports leagues, who independently tested us 3 separate times and put out a complete and full report, not a redacted report, on the efficacy of our solution. The testing was done by the operators, people who run stadiums, arenas all day long. We now have our DHS Safety Act certification from the Department of Homeland Security, and other organizations like the TSA, FAA, NPSA have all hands-on tested us in rigorous environments with every weapon possibly imaginable to verify that indeed our technologies do what they say they do. So this can give the customers peace of mind. As we think about this a little bit more, many of these customers have also become key partners for us. Oakview Group, which runs about 350 stadiums and owns a number of stadiums in North America, places like the Moody Center in Austin, Texas, places like Acrisure Arena or the home of the UBS Islanders. After doing some extensive research on all the technologies and testing all of those, they also do work such as doing all the red teaming activities for the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, and others. They rigorously tested our solution and determined that we were the preferred technology provider to provide solutions into their venues. Similarly, Madison Square Garden, having a vision about how to completely reinvent the entertainment experience with the Sphere in Las Vegas, decided that after testing us rigorously over the course of 12 months on 24 different tests, determined that they saw us as the future for how to change the guest experience while increasing significantly the security for all of their patrons. One of the things I'm most proud of as a company is beating our milestones. We communicate to the investment analysts who track our company the things that we're going to do on a quarterly basis, the things that we're going to do on an annual basis. And heretofore, what is most pleasing to me is when we talk to those analysts, they always compliment us that we're one of the few companies that's actually meeting or beating their milestones every time. The industry likes predictability, and that's something that we're very proud that we can deliver, both in terms of the growth numbers, but also in delivering the financial fundamentals and continuing to show more and more profitability as a business while reducing our burn and our OPEX costs. That puts us on a path to be cash flow break even in quarters, not years, while continuing to have a very high aggressive growth rate. So whether an investor is interested in getting to cash flow break even and a little bit more of a conservative mindset around investing, or whether they're focused on aggressive and hyper growth, we're continuing to deliver on both metrics at the same time with the model we built to successfully grow this business. So in summary, one of the key thoughts I'd like to bring to the forefront here and summarizing all the points is why do people invest in Xtract One? The first thing is that the weapons issue is not going away. It's only getting worse and it's getting global. So we have a huge tailwinds that are behind us that are driving our business. We did not plan to enter into some of these segments that we're in right now, but the segments were not willing to wait for us. They pulled us in because they needed a solution, and their testing verified that we were the best solution for those market segments. There are very, very high barriers to entry in this marketplace. And every time we've told people about what we're doing with a smart gateway, the ability to detect the broadest set of weapons all the way down to small little box cutters while having a very manageable and low false alert rate, that's significant. We are an and, not an or, where people can get the weapons or false alerts. In our case, it's weapons and low false alerts. That's very difficult, and you have to break and push the laws of physics. And when we introduced One Gateway, a lot of people were in disbelief that we could actually do it. Those that have seen it in our labs or in demonstrations we're doing around the country are now starting to place orders for this system. We announced our first school order just earlier this week for Tift County schools in Georgia. That was a wonderful win because it was a sliding of a prior order that would have gone to a competitor over to us after they saw the leapfrog in innovation and the value to deliver to their schools. It's tested and proven technology by third parties such as the TSA, the NPSA, and others, people who are responsible for the security of all of us in our everyday lives. We think we have significant competitive advantage in things like not alerting on laptops while catching all the knives. And just having people go about their daily business, just walking to the office the way you do today and knowing that your environment is safe. We're on a track to deliver compelling growth and momentum, and we do not see that slowing down. We only see it growing more aggressively as we get pulled faster and faster and faster into more and more markets, and particularly with the referenceability that's coming from organizations like the CSO of Madison Square Garden or the auto manufacturers, because they all talk and they all tell each other about the value of what we've delivered to them. We also are delivering multiple revenue streams now. We continue to see opportunities for delivering more and more value on top of the platform we've built. For every vertical market segment, instead of delivering a homogeneous horizontal solution, we're now delivering market-specific capabilities for schools, not alerting on laptops. For other vertical markets, specific things that those organizations have asked us for that make us the default leader. This is ultimately a SaaS business model, so it creates recurring revenues, and those recurring revenues just stack up monthly over time, and we're seeing that in our bookings backlog. Most important to me, though, is the compelling outcomes for our customers' customers. One of the best events I ever went to was where I was sitting there watching people walk into the venue at the VIP entrance, and this lady walked in and she started taking all her jewelry off because she was used to going through the metal detector. She was told not to do that, just walk in. She walked in and she looked at me and said, "That's it?" We said, "That's it." She said, "Swanky." And so we deliver people a swanky experience where they just walk in and don't have to go through that invasiveness and intrusiveness and slowdown that people have previously experienced when going through a walk-through metal detector. At this point, I think what I would like to do is to answer some of the questions that have come up in the Q&A section here. We won't be able to get to all of the questions, and if I haven't talked about them all in this presentation, then we'll try and see what we can do about answering those questions. So there's a question here about how do we determine or validate whether our technology is superior to a competitor? Well, that is done by these third parties, and it's done by organizations like NBA teams and others. When people are focused on buying security, and it's a security first approach to their business model, side by side, we win. There are always other factors that come into a selling process, whether it's large sponsorship dollars or other things that can influence buying decisions. But when it comes to security first and side by side bake-offs, we win. More importantly, we can bring in others, such as those who have tested our technology, the third parties, and have written reports on it, and use that to validate our technology. There's a question here about whether we were used at Madison Square Garden during the Trump rally. In fact, our technology was present in Madison Square Garden. They've significantly tested us over a 12-month period multiple times, and they continue to use us for all of their events. The question here is about One Gateway. If it's so market-making and such a leapfrog, when will it be available? We're already taking the product on the road, and we've actually demonstrated in various states right now. We were in Ohio last week. We'll be in South Carolina next week, and we're continuing to bring in organizations in a controlled manner. The product is in a beta state right now. There's still work and development occurring on it. We expect it to get through all of our certifications, necessary certifications that have to be completed in order to sell a product that's an electronic product in the marketplace. We expect to be completed all that and ramp up manufacturing and delivering the first units in mid to late Q1 timeframe. So far, we're very pleased though, because there's always the question about, do we cannibalize our Smart Gateway business? And the answer is no. Smart Gateway was purpose-built to solve a specific problem, and there's customers who are ordering it today, and they continue to order it after knowing we have both products in the marketplace. It has a healthy life to it, and it's going to continue to serve those markets well because there's specific capabilities needed for those marketplaces. The One Gateway fits a different market segment, and it's going to serve those markets very, very well based on the orders that we're starting to see for that product. There's a question here about our revenue model, and the answer is simple. We serve the customers the way they want to be served. There are some customers who wish to purchase a product upfront using a CapEx model. They'll buy the hardware, software, and they will buy annual maintenance. And typically we see that with organizations like the auto manufacturers or the schools where they're getting grant money. There are other customers like the arenas and stadiums who are typically funding this out of the savings and OpEx dollars. And so they're on a SaaS recurring model. I personally like both, and I like the mix that we have both types of revenues coming into the company, because the upfront model brings in cash right away, which significantly lowers our cash burn and gets us to cash flow break even. But the SaaS recurring model continues to stack up more and more and more recurring revenues, which has a higher valuation in the marketplace. We have another question here, which is around, can you provide some color around your IP portfolio? Absolutely. What we're doing, again, as I mentioned, is this is difficult. We're bending the laws of physics, both in the sensor technology as well as the AI that is purpose-built to solve this particular problem. Many AI companies fail because they built a great AI engine, then they go and try and find a problem to solve, and you're force-fitting a solution. We built our AI software specifically to solve this weapons detection solution, and that's why it has the high degree of efficacy that it does. We have IP around our sensor technology, we have IP around the AI and the algorithms we use, and we have IP around the architectural design that is a key differentiator versus other solutions that allows us to detect all of the weapons while having a lower false positive rate than the other solutions. I've got one more question here that says, thanks for the presentation. This is an innovative product for sure. How can investors rely on the company financials achievements to influence investors' portfolio? I think this company has great potential for future growth, but want to hear from the man himself. Well, I'm not sure which man you're talking about. Hopefully that's me. But if you're wanting to invest on, how can you rely on company financial achievements? Well, first off, we are audited just like any other publicly traded company, and that's a very, very rigorous process, and that's why it takes longer for us to put out our year-end financial information and earnings, because of that very, very rigorous auditing. I'm also very pleased that we have more and more investors who are wishing to track us and want to put out analyst reports on us with their recommendations around what to do with respect to our shares. So you don't need to necessarily rely on us solely, although you can guarantee that we are very, very judicious about how we manage our business, making sure that we deliver everything with high transparency, high integrity. We're in the security industry. You have to do that. But we also rely on third-party analysts to evaluate our business, evaluate our business models, to dig into the financials of the company and provide their recommendations as part of their analyst reports. That, I believe, is the last set of questions that we have at this point right now. So I think I will, Anthony, suggest that we wrap it up at this time with only a few minutes left. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate taking the time out of your day to listen to this webinar. If you're looking for more information, you can find us at www.xtract1.com. Or please listen to any other further webcast, broadcast that we are presenting for the company, and pay attention. The business issues the market issues are not going away. We're delivering business value that is leapfrog versus everyone else in the industry. The momentum is very, very compelling. I personally love what I do and the people that I work with and our customers. So stay tuned. There's a great story here to follow.